Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies show with Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury. I am Todd Zwiecki. It is Thursday, April 18th, 2024. Gentlemen, the Phillies sweep the Colorado Rockies this week at Citizens Bank Park. A lot of really good starting pitching. I know the Rockies are not the greatest offensive team, or the greatest team, I should say. They do have some hitters in that lineup, but really just tremendous starting pitching, which is what this team has had all season long. And finally, we start seeing some signs of life from the offense. They scored 5+ runs in consecutive games for the first time this season. Kyle Schwarber with a couple of home runs. Trey Turner seems to be heating up. Bryce Harper showing some flashes here and there. Johan Rojas. We've talked so much about Johan Rojas. Had a couple hits on Wednesday night. He's got 8 hits in his last 8 games. He's hitting almost 350 in his last 8 games. That's interesting. How are you guys doing? And Ranger Suárez, maybe, let's talk about that performance. I thought, he pitched great, of course. But, man, Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto had some great things to say about him after that game on Wednesday night. Bryce saying, this guy, if he puts it together, he's going to get paid. JT saying, if he puts it together, I think we've got a 1A, 1B, and 1C. What do you guys think, Ruben?
Well, I love Ranger. I love everything that he brings to the table. I love the way he goes about his business. I hear people talking, the people who played the game, and how much they would love to play behind him because he grabs it and he throws it. I mean, he doesn't mess around. He is confident right now. I mean, obviously, he had a full spring training to get himself ready. It's the first time in his whole career that he had actual full spring training to prepare himself, and he prepared himself very, very well. And he is one of the better left-handers in baseball, at least for me right now. He's got obviously a very big mix of pitches, but the fact that his breaking ball in particular, his curveball, has gotten better and better. He worked on it in the offseason. He worked on it with his throwing program. He did a lot of different things to prepare himself in a way that has made him come out of the gate really strong. And I think that it's arguably the best, maybe the best top 3 starting pitchers in baseball at this very moment. When you start talking about Wheeler, Nola, and Suárez, nice combination of different looks and different flavors, and guys who are pounding the strike zone and eating up innings.
Yeah, I love that phrase, pounding the strike zone. Ranger does that. They're working quickly. It's a joy to watch a guy like that pitch. And as you mentioned, the infielders love playing behind it. I've said this before. He reminds me a lot of Cliff Lee. He can bust it in on your hands to set up that changeup away. He can spot everything. When his location is on, he is dynamite, and his location has been on so far, through 4 starts. He's shown flashes of brilliance over the years. It just looks like he's poised, and keyword poised, because he's such a poised individual on the mound in terms of when all hell's breaking loose, he kind of calms things down. But it seems like he's poised to do it for 6 full months, a full season and beyond, given the Phillies a really rugged top 3. Harper mentions he's going to get paid. He won't be a free agent until after 2025. Who knows? The Phillies have locked up people in the past. Maybe he's the next guy. Probably a little bit down the road until they see a little bit more. But, with free agency looming for him after 25, right, Todd?
Right, correct, 25.
Yeah. So with free agency looming, and I'm not trying to get way ahead of myself, but I am. Just more, it's just kind of highlights. They need to cash in soon, next year or 2, 3, while, these guys are still, the core guys are still producing, and you possibly, could see a top-notch pitcher go to free agency. I'm not saying he's going to, but, it all kind of adds up.
Hey, there's Boris his agent, just like Harper? I do
I
not
don't
know
think
the
so.
answer to that, but it sounds like he's doing a little commercial.
It sure does.
I mean, Harper's been known to do a commercial or two in his day. You know, he did it for JT. He's done it, maybe a little bit for Trey Turner. Now, he got Suárez. I'm just saying.
A little commercial.
I want you guys to educate me a little bit, and this might be interesting for the listeners. If it seems like Ranger Suárez has so many balls hit back to him at the mound, and he must have had like 3 or 4 on Wednesday, just hit right back. And that's how he finished the shutout. Ball hit back to the mound. It was the most fitting thing ever. Most nonchalant yet accurate, solid throw to first base. Very, very Ranger. I looked this up because I was just curious. He has 60 assists as a pitcher over the last 3 seasons to lead all pitchers in baseball. And I'm wondering, can you guys explain why he gets so many balls hit back to him? Is it the pitches he throws? Is it the locations? Is it how he keeps guys off balance? Because you don't see a lot of, like I said, leads baseball over the last 3 years, balls hit back to the mound.
I don't know. Maybe he's such a good athlete. He just gets more of them than other guys, Real Cormier used to be very good fielder. Cliff Lee was a very good fielder. Ranger's so athletic. He was a hell of a soccer player. You still see him kicking it around now and then.
So to me, it is a combination of the fact that his mechanics are so good that he actually is facing the batter in a athletic position when the ball is struck. Many pitchers and most pitchers are so maximum effort that they take them spin off. And, years ago, you used to be the pitching coaches used to tell pitchers, hey, after you deliver your pitch, you're a fielder now. You're part of the fielding team. Nowadays, they don't want the pitchers to touch the ball because they're not athletic, and 2, their bodies aren't even facing home plate when they deliver their pitches. But he is doing both of those things. He's athletic. He delivers the pitch. He doesn't throw maximum effort. He's ready to field his position, and he fields it flawlessly because, frankly, he's got big, gigantic guts. I said it, guts, instead of the other words. And I think that I love the way he goes about it. He believes in himself. He's got a tremendous amount of trust in himself and confidence.
He's very laid back. You talked about the poise, and we've talked. I feel like we've also talked about max effort guys. Top 3 guys, Ruben. You said it at the top here. Maybe the best top 3 in baseball. All 3 are just pitchers. I know Zach throws harder than the other 2 guys, but guys that change speeds, locate. They're not out there just going 115%, and it's Rangers probably epitomizes that success that they're having right now.
They've got 1, 2, and 3, in reputation and performance have been terrific for this team. And they've gotten really nice contributions out of 4 and 5. I mean, Christopher Sanchez again last night.
Mm-hmm.
He's 97. He's got an outstanding changeup. He's getting chase on it. He's getting swing and misses on it. You get 10 strikeouts. It's just another really two quality starts in a row from Christopher Sanchez, who, they got a few years ago in a trade, and he just keeps getting better and better. I think you could say, the player development folks have done a really good job with him, and the pitching people at the big league level, they've done a good job with him because he keeps getting better and better, and he's become a mainstay on this staff. And then you got Spencer Turnbull, who will pitch on Friday night. You got another weak team coming in, the Chicago White Sox. I mean, it's opportunity knocks for this team, right, on the schedule. Yeah. But Turnbull, I see his name pop up, and I think he's done a very good job. What happens when Taijuan Walker comes back? Because now we're hearing he may be back sooner than later, right, Rob?
Yeah. So Rob mentions this yesterday. So last week in St. Louis, before Walker started his rehab, he says, we probably want to have him get up to 100 pitches at least before we activate him. So we're thinking late April, early May. And then yesterday, after his second rehab start, we asked Rob how he's doing. He's like, well, he feels great. and we're going to see what happens after his bullpen on Friday. And we're like, what do you mean? He's like, well, there's a chance he's ready. Interesting, because you go from 3 to 4 rehab starts to maybe only 2, and had an opportunity. Matt Gelb from The Athletic and I chatted with Taijuan before the game yesterday. Now, Taijuan's velocity has been talked about a lot since last season. You know, how it fluctuated so wildly from start to start. That's a big reason why he didn't pitch in the postseason, because you didn't really know what you were going to get from him. He talked all spring about, I want to get my velocity up because that's so important to me, because, man, if I'm throwing 93, 94, my splitter plays that much better. Now, he threw 91 in his first rehab start, 4-seam fastball, 91.1 in his second. So I asked him yesterday, I said, well, how do you kind of come to terms with the fact that you've talked a lot about velocity and now you're only throwing 91.1? And he said, well, it's the way it's coming out of the hand now. There's more movement and more late life. You know, my other pitches are crisper and sharper. And it's just interesting to me, because there's been so much emphasis on the velocity, and now it sounds like they've almost don't expect it to come back. Maybe, I don't know what to think of it, but it is interesting because he sounds like he's going to come back next week. And can he pitch successfully at 91, maybe 92? Maybe he gets a bump, right, when he comes back in the big leagues. But it's going to be interesting. And I don't know, do you guys think he can pitch successfully at a lower velocity with the stuff that he has?
Well, Todd, you mentioned it before. The first 3 guys in this rotation, they pitched, right? They pitch. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily about velocity, but their ability to change speeds and hit their locations. And I think that is a very, very important element of all pitching. I mean, in the bullpen, maybe not as much, because you're looking for strikeouts and it's going to be a much briefer stint. But particularly with starting pitching, man, it's about pitching and trying to get through innings and being efficient. I think there is a way and there is a pathway for Taijuan Walker to do that, but he's going to have to utilize his fastball and sinker and be able to dot it. So when I say dot it, that's one of the things, you know, he's always been sort of durable. I mean, even last year, what did he eat up? 170 innings, 180 innings. So the durability is there and the physicality is there, but it's a matter of him being able to stay on the mound and pitch without utilizing up too many pitches overall. And that's command. And there were times during the course of the season last year where his command just wasn't there, man. He can't go and walk 4 guys and average 4 walks a game. He just can't do it. He's going to have to keep the walks down, hopefully keep the ball out of the middle of the plate, and let some of his stuff work. Now, the split, he relies on that sometimes when he's not commanding his fastball. He sometimes relies on that for a strike pitch. And I don't think he can survive doing that. He's going to have to be able to throw his 4-seamer and a sinker for strikes and be able to utilize that in different quadrants of the zone. That will make his fastball or his split finger much more effective, because then you just can't sit on, one pitch. And I really, is there a pathway for him to do it? Is there a roadmap for him? Yes, but he can't do it if he is not throwing his 4-seamer sinker to the right spots. Then it's going to be an uphill battle for him.
Okay. I find it a little fascinating that, Turnbull's given him a couple good starts, one so-so, and he's going to pitch again on Friday night when they, after Thursday's off day against the White Sox. Lineup he could do very well against with all their injuries and whatnot. I mean, they're 3-15. Suppose he pitches really, really well again. And my question is, look, Taijuan certainly can go out there in Cincinnati next week if he's back in the rotation, pitch well. He could reel off 3 good ones in a row, and then the point is kind of moot. But what happens if Taijuan struggles or maybe needs time to get his legs, or just doesn't pitch really well out of the gate, or if these sort of unspoken concerns manifest and he's not as good as people need him to be? All of a sudden, how fast do they go back to Turnbull? It's kind of fascinating,
especially because Taijuan is in the second year of a $72 million contract. I mean, that's right. I mean, Ruben, you can speak to that better than anybody. I mean, if you're a front office guy because you've already heard it. Like, what are they going to do with Turnbull? What are they going to do with Turnbull? Well, I think the argument you can make with Turnbull is, or what they could say potentially is, if they move him into the long man role, say, well, this is the job that we probably had ticketed for him before the season started. He was going to be the long man before Ty went down. They could say, listen, he hasn't thrown more than 60 innings since 2019. He's been hurt a lot, a pandemic. We have to manage his workload. We heard a lot about that last season with Matt Strahm. When Strahm was in the rotation to start the season, they're like, we got to pump the brakes on this guy. We want to keep him healthy down the stretch so they can put him in the long man role. But you're right, Jim. It's like, if he goes out and pitches what he should do against a really bad White Sox team and Ty struggles, but Ty's going to get his opportunities, right? Because he's making a lot of money over the next few years. He's going to get a shot.
I mean, we talk about the back of the baseball card a lot. And here's the reality. Spencer Turnbull, while he's turned in a couple of good starts, let's not necessarily anoint him to be the next Cy Young Award winner. His last outing, he did not command a strike zone all that well. He's got good stuff. And I think that he can be a decent starting pitcher, but he hasn't proven himself to be someone that you can count on to take the baseball every fifth day. Now, can he be better than he has been in the past? Can he get to that point? He's always had great stuff. He's had a lot of injury issues, but he was signed to be a sort of a stopgap in case, and someone who was a depth pitcher to, in case they have a breakdown, or in case exactly what happened to Taijuan Walker, he wasn't ready to go. So here's what I think is going to happen. I mean, Spencer Turnbull can throw a one-hit shutout against the Chicago White Sox, a terrible, terrible hitting team. Mm-hmm. And I still think at some point that Taijuan is going to be sliding into that rotation, and Spencer Turnbull is going to slide into that long man role. Now, I do know Dave Dombrowski well enough that if Taijuan Walker does not, in his first 4, 5 outings, I don't know how long the leash is going to be, if he does not throw well, they may be flip-flopped. Dave, he's not afraid to put the best people in their positions to succeed. And if Taijuan Walker's not getting the job done, then he's not getting the job done. Mm-hmm. And but again, I mean, like I said, Taijuan Walker's been there. He's done it. He's had some success. He did not have a tremendous year last year, but the man ate up some innings now, and he won a lot of baseball games. No, and this is a team, and he's
earned the right to get back in there with those innings
right.
last year. It just seems like the timetable was just inched along a little quicker than maybe first you thought it would be. And it almost seems like, okay, he's ready. Let's find out. Because if the situation is going to come to pass where they have to flip-flop him, why not find out sooner rather than later if Taijuan's going to be the guy? And I'm not saying it's going to hinge on one start in Cincinnati or one start by Turnbull on Friday night. But, he's healthy. He's ready. He's got the arm strength. Game on. Let's figure this stuff out.
I think it's a combination of things, because it's different in this day and age. Like, as an executive, I used to have the ability to, if he was on a 30-day rehab or a 20-day rehab, to stretch him out to 20 days and then make a decision. Nowadays, the player can basically say to you, he can say to the front office, listen, I'm ready to go. I'm a 5-year player, or whatever the case may be. And I'm not positive on all the rules, but there could be grievances. I mean, if this guy says he's ready to go and he doesn't come to the big leagues, then he can, file a grievance against the team. And, I don't think any team wants to have that happen. And so I think it's a combination of things. I think you're right, Jim. On one hand, I think they want to find out whether the guy can pitch, and then make a decision after that. But I do think that the player has a lot more. He has a lot more of the hammer as far as how long he's supposed to stay on the DL or in the IL.
That sounds like the conversation that happened on Wednesday in Rob's office. And Taijuan went in there, said, I'm ready to go. And then he told us after, he's like, I'm built up enough. So I mean, he's going to throw a bullpen session on Friday. I don't know what could possibly come out of that bullpen session on Friday where they go, you know what? I think we're going to give you another rehab start. I mean, would you not be floored if that was the answer? Like, we decided after this bullpen session that we're going to give him one more rehab start.
Everybody pitches a no-hitter in the bullpen.
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
right.
let's think about it. And he has every right to do that because who maxed out in spring training over 80 pitches in their rotation? Not one pitcher. I think the most somebody threw was 78 or 9 pitches or something like that. Was it Nola or Wheeler? I don't think they got much more than that.
And that's what Taijuan threw on Tuesday in Lehigh Valley. I think it was 78
Amen.
pitches.
There you go.
There you go.
So he's ready.
See you in Cincinnati, Taijuan.
There you go.
Or wherever it might be.
You mentioned early in the show, Todd, that the offense, Turner, Schwarber, started to show some life in that Colorado series, even a little bit before that. Johan Rojas, just you're seeing an uptick, and it's good to see. I thought one of the coolest things in last night's game, so there's a hanging slider, he boom, off the center field wall, really used the bat head, went out and got it, waited on it, and went out and drove it. But I thought the coolest thing of the night, and there were a lot of cool things. See, Schwarber hit 2 home runs back-to-back with Turner in the first inning. Sanchez pitched great. I thought the coolest thing of the night was Johan Rojas standing on second after smacking that double. And, the crowd, which was 35,000, they gave him a really polite, appreciative, supportive cheer, round of applause, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't an eruption, but it was noticeable and it was appreciative, and it sort of felt like it was from the heart. It was like they're so cued in that this is a kid, young, struggling, working on stuff, and he just did something good, and they had his back. I thought it was a really cool moment. Did that jump out to you at all?
It totally did. And I think, as tough as Philly fans can be, I think they also have a lot of self-awareness. And I think exactly what you said. They've seen a guy who's been struggling, and they see a guy who's been maybe swinging the bat a little bit better lately. And man, if he could get going at that bottom, that 9 hole, now all that talk can go away, and now he can just go out there and play center.
You can call it struggling. I think they see a guy who's working hard. That's not a finished product.
And that is true.
That is a young player that is working hard to fix some flaws. And I think they identify and appreciate that, as opposed to maybe a veteran who's just in a big offer and they get on him,
And Jim, you were in the Ruben. Jim was back at the ballpark yesterday.
I need to talk about that a little bit. So, Jim, so you finally got back to the booth. I was not there. You were at the ballpark with all your boys and many of your friends. What was the reaction like? I heard it was pretty spectacular.
Well,
did it bring a tear to your eye? Did it bring a tear to your eye? Did it bring a tear to your eye?
I don't cry like you. You cry all the time.
I mean, are you not? I mean, do you not have a heart? Are you? What?
No, it was nice to see Todd and the Koala and Alex and Lobby and all the good people and the Paul Breen, all the nice folks. But it was.
Let me ask you a question. Who gave you the nicest hug?
The nicest hug?
Who gave you the best hug?
I got to think about that. T-Mac, maybe?
No, you better say that, because if you didn't say that, he was going to be awfully pissed off at you. He gave you a nice, long, thick. Was it a nice, long, thick hug? Was it early?
It was a good hug. Little sweaty, but it was good.
I can tell you that people were very excited to see Jim. And what I was thinking about this in the drive home last night. Swear to God, Jim, you had not been in the clubhouse for a while, not been in the ballpark for a while, but as soon as you walked in, it felt very normal. Yeah, I wasn't like, this is really weird and out of body experience. Jim is back in the clubhouse. That's where he should be. But it was great. It was great.
There's a lot of people that love the man, and I'll embarrass the hell out of him. He's a great person. He loves baseball. He loves covering baseball, and he's been doing it for a long time and in a lot of ways, and it's great to have him back.
Oh, thank you, Ruben. That's
nice
of you to say, even though I got you fired.
Yeah, well, I don't hold grudges.
That's right.
One beautiful thing about you.
Hey, so let's go back to Johan Rojas.
Yeah. So Jim, I was saying that Jim was in the clubhouse last night, and speaking of guys working hard, Jim, Trey Turner mentions, and then Kyle Schwarber talked about it as well.
Yeah.
How yesterday in the cage, Trey and Johan got together and they just really talked hitting. They had a really good conversation. Trey didn't really elaborate in terms of what they were talking about, if it's mechanics, if it's approach, but Johan Rojas is in that cage. And I think it was, I don't know, it was either Trey or Schwarber. It says he's not doing bulk work in the cage. He's not going out there and just hitting 500 balls and just, it's very concentrated, very purposeful work, very specific work on what he can do to get better. But I did think that was interesting that Trey basically said we had a great chat before the game today on hitting, whatever that might be. And to me, that kind of illustrates what you said, Jim, with the fans recognizing the hard work. They seem to be really, that is real. That's not just a guy saying, the hitting coach saying, oh man, he's working really hard in the cage every day. Right. That's a real example of a guy really working hard and really caring about his craft on a day-to-day basis.
And it was Schwarber who said he noticed them talking, and then all three of them will go out and have a great game. I mean, that's one of the great things about baseball, the accomplished veteran imparting advice, wisdom, help to a younger player who really wants that help and really wants to succeed. I think it's happened forever in the game. I mean, Ruben's had dozens of mentors when he was playing, from Charlie Manuel to, I remember Dave Hollins. I mean, I probably know a whole bunch of them, but when a veteran who's got a batting title and a World Series ring and takes the time to help a young kid, it's got to mean a lot to the young kid, right?
It is. I will tell you, I've been in clubhouses since I was a tyke, and I will tell you that there's nothing more impactful than, not necessarily, doesn't have to necessarily be your coach or your manager. There's nothing more impactful than some advice and some help from your teammate. It is invaluable. And the fact that these guys are working with each other and talking with each other, that's the beauty of this ball club that I really, really like. Because when you have that sort of communication and you have that, then everybody cares about each other. They're literally working on the goal together to be the best versions of themselves. And when you have that sort of, I don't know, that esprit de corps, whatever you want to call it, that is so impactful to the team as a group. And that's one of the beauties and one of the reasons why I think they've connected so well with the rest of the fan base, is because I think that people know that they're trying to do everything they can to win. And they talk about it, but they also practice it, it seems. And I will tell you that I didn't know that story until just now, but I'm not surprised by it because of the makeup of the players. But I'm also not surprised that it had immediate impact. I mean, it had immediate impact, and that's the most important part, because now the player says to himself, "Holy smokes! The things that we did talk about, I implemented them, and look, I went 2 for 3, or got a big base hit, or every at bat was way different. They're getting better and better and better, and those results, we're result oriented. We're in a result oriented industry. Those results are huge."
Johan Rojas, last 8 games, batting .348, 8 for 23, 2 doubles. And here's the numbers that I think are important. 2 walks, only 1 strikeout. And not a lot of walks, but only 1 strikeout for a guy that was swinging and missing a lot in the postseason. So putting the ball in play.
Yeah, let me just say one more thing about that. I think the other part that makes it a little easier for him is that people aren't focusing on him as much when the other guys are doing damage.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got Schwarber and Harper and Turner's really swinging the bat well. When you have those guys doing what they're sort of supposed to be doing and what you expect them to do, then the onus and the pressure is taken off the guy, which was sort of like the plan anyway. The guy's not supposed to carry this team.
Right. It's supposed to be a perfect lineup to carry a guy in the 9 spot and let him learn and blend in and
be dynamic defensively.
So before we wrap this up, real quick, one guy in the lineup that's not hitting, Nick Castellanos. I thought there might have been a chance that he would not play yesterday to give him 2 days. A lot of managers like to do that, give them the 2 days off to clear their head. 69 at bats this season, does not have an extra base hit. Longest streak by a Phillies player to start the season since Mickey Morandini, 1997, 73 at bats to start a season without an extra base hit. Do you give him a day off, soon? I mean, do you think it's overdue? Do you let him? He loves to play and he wants to hit his way out of it, but it's, at some point, when does the manager need to step in?
I think they face a lefty Friday night. I'm looking forward to seeing that kid Garrett Crochet throw. I watched him a little bit when he was in college on TV at Tennessee. Had an injury, but he strikes out a lot of guys as a big lefty. So he probably would play against a lefty, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Maybe you get him a day on the weekend, but Rob has enough. I think Rob is one of those guys who believes you don't start hitting by not hitting. So by not you hit your way out of it. And what might be kind of maybe a potential saving grace is Cincinnati, a place he's always been very comfortable. It's a good ballpark to hit. I mean, Citizens Bank Park's a good ball. But Cincinnati's a real good one. He seems to get a good vibe there, and I just think Nick is like a couple hard hit doubles away from feeling confident. When he's confident, he's a totally different hitter.
Totally.
So I don't know. If
I agree with that. I was watching Nick on TV yesterday because I did not go to the game, and I was watching him on TV, and it was an interesting thing that I saw, like his sort of setup right now. And mechanically, he does not, his setup, he's so turned, his right almost, his right buttock is almost facing the pitcher. He's so turned so he has to rotate all the way around, his lower half to get to the space. And I just don't know, I don't see him being nearly as direct with his path. It's very rotational as opposed to linear. So the difficulty, so then like when he has to make contact, I've studied hitting for years and years and years. And I really took a pride in studying hitting. And I just think that you have to be a little bit more linear in that your bat head has to go out, not around or across, because then you will not, your margin for error is way, way greater when you're more direct with your swing than when you're around, because then you have to hit the baseball right on point at the exact point every single time instead of being more linear with your path. And I just think it just seems like he's got a long way to go in his rotation, and it's hard for me to show that, to be able to make consistent hard contact. And I would have to go back and study a lot of the film and stuff like that. But I don't ever remember him setting up with his whole lower half turned to the start.
Is that because he's trying to hit the ball the other way?
It might be because he may be trying to force himself to go, that way, center or whatever.
Point though.
But I think it might be counterintuitive for him or counterproductive, because he has to rotate his body has to rotate a long way to get to that. So you have to cheat to get there if it's throwing really hard. So you have to start rotating really early as opposed to being more. It seems just like a pitcher's going east-west. You'd like to see him go more north-south. I don't know.
Well, you're right. You're right, Jim. He probably will play tomorrow night against the lefty.
I'm guessing, right?
Yeah,
because he hits lefties. I mean, if he's going to get going, this kid's got.
I mean, he's good. Stuff. He's been pretty good. He's been like maybe the only bright spot on the White Sox this year. This is a really bad team, guys. I mean, Ruben, you said
stink.
They stink. I got to. So I looked this up because I was like, how bad is this team offensively? They've scored 38 runs in 18 games. there's only been 12 other teams in baseball history have scored fewer than 38 or fewer runs in their first 18 games. This is a historically bad start by a team. So, everybody's a big leaguer that puts on a big league uniform, but come on, this is a team that they should beat. So you got Crochet versus Turnbull on Friday, Michael Soroka versus Zach Wheeler on Saturday, and Nick Nastrini versus Aaron Nola on Sunday. So they're 3-15.
The Phillies go in 3 games over 500. I mean, I just point this out because there was so much talk about, slow start again. 3 over 500. Last year, they didn't get to 3 over 500 until June 17th. So they're there 2 months beforehand. Now you got to maintain, you got to stay there, you got to build on it. But it sort of puts that slow start in perspective. It's not as bad as it might have looked.
Absolutely.
No, they got a chance to make some hay, man. Make the hay.
That's
very rarely do you actually sweep a team. It's hard to sweep. And it's hard to sweep a team. This sounds weird. It's hard to sweep a team you're supposed to sweep. But they did it. And that's big. And not every game was smooth sailing, but it was pretty darn good.
Right. Well, Jim, you missed Ruben the other day, gave a nice chat to the Pioneers and Pinstripes event on Monday at Jackie Robinson Day. Ruben, it was you spoke very well of your dad, obviously, and it was a great speech, but it did crack me up because before that, Jim, you weren't there, but so they had a bunch of people talk, and the daughter of John Irvin Kennedy, the first black player to play for the Phillies last team in the National League to integrate, he was the first player. His daughter comes up and she goes, I wrote a poem about my dad. This is what I want to say about my dad. She gives this great poem, My Mr. Baseball, My Dad. She's bawling by the end of it. Her family's in the crowd. They're crying. The poem ends. People stand up. They're giving her a round of applause. And Tom's going, Tom McCarthy's emceeing it. He's like, unbelievable speech. This is unbelievable. And now Ruben Amaro Jr. is going to stand. And you were like, I got to follow this lady. This is insane. But you did a great job, Ruben. You did a great job.
So even John Middleton turns over to me because I was sitting right next to him. John Middleton, well, the poor guy who's got to go next. I said, yeah, John, that's me. And so it was a great day. The Pioneers and Pinstripes display that the Phillies put together on Jackie Robinson Day was tremendous. It was spectacular. It was a great honor for the players of color who have sort of been pioneered, their folks here in Philadelphia, and the way they've honored them with some beautiful mural. They're going to do more. I talked to John Middleton about it. They're going to add to the display. It's up in the Hall of Fame, and John Middleton spoke really well about how fitting it was to have all of these folks honored in the Hall of Fame because it's part of the real fabric and history of the Philadelphia Phillies. So really cool. Great day.
Yeah. I after the game last night, I went outside out behind the press box and I looked at it. It was great. I was mesmerized by it. I really poured over every name and face and all the copy and seeing your dad's picture and God, it was really neat. Really great. Sarge was up there.
So what was cool? So there's like 4 people obviously there's other people involved, but it was Kenny Ayers, Scott Brandreth, it was Rob Holliday, and Christine Negley were the 4 people in the front office with the Phillies who really made this happen. And they deserve a lot of love for that.
Hats off to them. Congratulations. Yeah. It was really spectacular.
It's very cool. Well, guys, thanks for listening to the Phillies show. We will be back next week after this White Sox series. Ruben and I will both be in Cincinnati, so I'll see you there. And then we got to get together, guys, at the ballpark and get a team photo, the Phillies show team photo. We got to get
this.
Yes. So, all right, guys, thanks. We'll chat next week.
All righty. Smell you later,
That's
Ruben.
Good. Smell you, Jim.